Okay, you should be ready to go.
Okay. This is a written determination of the chair of the public body, in this case being the Moab City Planning Commission, pursuant to House Bill 5002 and Utah Code annotated sections 52.4.207 4A and B. Whereas pursuant to Moab Municipal Code, section 2.08.015A, I am the presiding officer, chair at all meetings of the Moab City Planning Commission. Whereas Utah Code annotated section 52.4101, the Open and Public Meetings Act, governs the conduct of meetings in the Moab City Planning Commission. Whereas the Open and Public Meetings Act defines anchor location as the physical location from which A, an electronic meeting originates, or B, the participants are connected, UCA section 52.4.1031. Whereas House Bill 5002, signed by Governor Gary R. Herbert on June 25th, 2020, amended the Open and Public Meetings Act with the Open and Public Meetings Act amendments. Whereas the Open and Public Meetings Act amendments provide that a public body may convene and conduct an electronic meeting without an anchor location if the chair of the public body, A, makes a written determination that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. B, states that the written determination described in subsection 4A, the facts upon which the determination is based. UCA section 52.4.207 4A through B. Whereas the state of Utah remains under a state of public health emergency related to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and significant continued person-to-person transmission of the SARS-CoV-2 virus continues to occur in the state of Utah. Whereas in renewing his order declaring a state of emergency in Utah, Governor Gary R. Herbert said, quote, "Though case counts are on the decline, no vaccine exists and the disease is not contained. People in Utah are still getting sick and requiring hospital care, and heightened caution is still necessary." Whereas the city of Moab is currently at yellow level of restriction, and under this level of restriction, gatherings of more than 50 people are not allowed. Whereas the city of Moab Planning Commission meetings do require attendance by individuals at higher risk of severe illness from COVID-19. For example, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states that people in their 50s are at higher risk for severe illness than people in their 40s. Similarly, people in their 60s or 70s are in general at higher risks for severe illness than people in their 50s. Whereas the CDC indicates that the best way to protect against and to help reduce the spread of the virus that causes COVID-19 is to limit interactions with other people as much as possible. Whereas the CDC indicates that the lowest risk for events and gatherings is virtual only. Whereas the health and safety of commission members, city officials and employees, staff, and members of the public is best served by holding electronic meetings of the Planning Commission. Whereas the commission has prepared for and demonstrated the ability to effectively conduct its public meetings electronically, including providing members of the public means to observe the commission's meetings and provide comments electronically. Now, therefore, I determine that conducting Moab City Planning Commission meetings with an anchor location that is physically accessible for members of the public to attend in person presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. This determination will expire 30 days after the day upon which I made the determination. It is possible that circumstances would warrant future determinations, and so I may reissue future written determinations at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That having been done, and I will sign, I call to order the August 27th, 2020 agenda Planning Commission meeting at 6:05 p.m. Mountain Time. Do we have any citizens to be heard tonight?
I am not aware of any.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Next agenda item is the approval of minutes. We have minutes from July 9th and July 23rd. If folks have read them, approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 9th and the July 23rd, 2020 minutes.
All right, we have a motion from Jess. Any second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Ruben seconds. Okay, all in favor? We'll do roll call vote.
You want me to do it?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. Sorry. I
you're
hadn't
good.
had time to read your email yet.
Hope you're good. Becky? I think she's with us.
Becky's on mute.
Hello.
Oh, great. Yep.
Marianne?
Hi.
Jess?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
Kaya?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Next action item, consideration and possible recommendation of Moab City Resolution 35-2020, a resolution conditionally approving the Brinnon Bentley Estates minor subdivision of property located at 1040 Pear Tree Lane, Moab, Utah. Nora or Corey?
Yes, thank you. I'll jump on here. And sorry if you hear some barking in the background. All righty. Okay, and does it look like the screen sharing properly?
Yes.
Thumbs up. All righty. Okay, this is item 4.1 on the agenda. This is the Brinnon Bentley Estates minor subdivision. Property location at 1040 Pear Tree Lane, Moab, Utah. Property owners Colby Brinnon and Tracy Bentley, and applicant Mike Shearer. With this property, we're looking at total property size of 2.06 acres being subdivided into two lots, 2A and 2B. Lot 2A at 1.05 acres and lot 2B at 1 acre. You'll see here in the parcel size description, there is some discrepancy between the tax roll parcel size of 2.38 acres and parcel map of 2.06 acres. This is a discrepancy between the survey and essentially what old platting was. So the proper dimensions are off of the parcel map, and then those lower square footages of lot 2A and 2B are accurate. So we're mapping to the actual parcel, maybe not whatever the discrepancy would be. The zoning for the parcels is RA1, residential agricultural, and proposed use would be residential development. Sharing now the vicinity map. You can see the parcel outlined in red, just off of Mill Creek Drive, across from Powerhouse Lane. This is the recorded plat here. So we are looking at the original Pear Tree Lane subdivisions with lot 1 just off to the west side, and then this larger parcel on the right is the subject parcel. I can zoom in as well. I know some of these plats can be small, so if you're wanting to see more detail, certainly chime in. I can zoom in. This was the submitted plat draft submitted with the application. I can zoom in here a little bit, and you can see the square footages and acreage of those parcels essentially being subdivided right down the middle, with the larger parcel off to the west side. As a part of our research and review of the application, zoom out here. Engineering comments required that we share the irrigation easements that were on the property, as well as a plat note describing a connection for both parcels to public sewer, as to not allow for septic use on either property. So this was the updated parcel. This was the one that was submitted. There's a very minor difference. So this is the one that was submitted. Changing the slide here, you can see a little bit of a slight difference. I'll zoom in here. You can see that easement line being shown on the south side of the property. The plat note has not yet been added to this draft plat. So that's an outstanding condition that we will add before this item goes to City Council. The property owners recently purchased this property and were evaluating their opportunities with the land, decided to subdivide the land to allow for residential development for themselves in lot 2A and potential sale or future residential development and lot 2B. After submission to the city, the development review team reviewed the application and supplied the additional comments, those comments being addressed, and then outstanding comments still attached to this condition of approval are expressed in the motion. That's the end of my presentation, so I can leave the motion board back up or exit. I know it's easier to see hands when we're all sharing screens here. I did touch base with the applicants. I don't believe they're here tonight to speak about the item, but we can certainly make notes of those moving forward for them to answer if we do have any outstanding questions. And that's all I had.
Anybody?
Can I make the
Anybody?
recommended motion?
Yeah, if someone has a motion, go for it.
I move to recommend Moab City Resolution 35-2020, a resolution conditionally approving the Brinnon Bentley Estates minor subdivision of property located at 1040 Pear Tree Lane, Moab, Utah, subject to the following condition: submission of an updated draft plat showing any existing easements, including any irrigation line easements with Moab Irrigation Company, if applicable, before approval by City Council or recording of the final plat with the county recorder.
Second.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Luke,
Aye.
Jess,
Aye.
Becky,
I'm not sure if I should vote on this. They recently purchased this property with an agent in my office. I'm not aware of any outstanding agency agreements, but I don't know. I feel like I should disclose that.
thanks for disclosing. I think that's fine as long as you don't have a if the purchase has already gone through. I don't believe that would fall under times when we might need to recuse ourselves. Nora or someone can feel free to correct me.
Yeah, Becky, so I don't think does your office have any relationship with the current property owner who is?
I don't know. Not that I'm aware of, nothing contractually.
Because I know that Lenore was involved in the
Yeah.
sale of that big parcel. So, but that's fine. That's over and done. This is something different. So.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm in favor.
Okay. Let's see. Where was I? Mary Ann?
Aye.
Ruben? And I vote aye as well. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, everyone. All right, next item. We have 5.1, another action item, consideration and possible recommendation of Moab City Resolution 36-2020, a resolution conditionally approving the 241 East 100 North minor subdivision of property located at 241 East 100 North, Moab, Utah.
All righty, so I'm taking this one as well. This is action item 5.1. The 241 East 100 North minor subdivision location on 241 East 100 North. Property owner Andrew Roderick Taylor and applicant Shi Khan. Parcel size described on the tax roll as 0.29 acres and on the parcel map at 0.27 acres. Again, similar discrepancy between old county surveying and what the updated maps. And I'll say that now is that we've just had updated parcel maps come through the city, the 2020, which are much more accurate. Not that there is a large discrepancy, but as we're looking at these square footages, you might see that there's some things not adding up. That's the reason of that. So this is a licensed survey coming out of the applicants. So this is what would hold sway as we're identifying these parcels. So again, division of a subdivision into an extended subdivision, lot 2A, at 0.12 acres and lot 2B at 0.16 acres. This is in the R3 multi-household residential zone, and again, a proposed residential development use. Sharing now the vicinity map, parcel selected outlined in red. You can see here the original subdivision with this parcel here in front, and then the flag lot in the back. This is the Norlander subdivision. Is quite old subdivision in our records and quite large property. So what the applicant owning, I believe both parcels, wanting to subdivide and then build residential property on this parcel while allowing for future development or sale of the additional lot right off of 100 North and just east of 200 East. Again, this is the existing recorded plat of the Norlander Estates. You can see lot 1 and then lot 2 here below. And this is the proposed minor subdivision we're looking at right now. I'll zoom in a little bit here. And again, this was the plat that was submitted and you all have had a chance to view with that application and what was posted publicly. Similar to the other application, they were pretty willing to get more material. So we'll look at another draft plat with updated material, but this is what was submitted. So this is the lot 1. You can see the designation up top, and then lot 2 being subdivided into lot 2A and 2B. I'll zoom out here. And you can see that minor change. This is the updated plat. Whoa. All righty. Showing the existing sewer easement that runs across lot 1 and part of lot 2B. As well, on the bottom has been an added plat note that at the time of development, access to lot 2A, the lower lot, will be connected in compliance with the Moab Municipal Code to the public right-of-way. So as you can see here, there are currently curb cuts in the street that don't offer immediate access to lot 2A. So our engineering department wants to ensure that at the time of this development of this parcel, they won't be accessing it off of one of their neighbors' properties, that they will have their own individual access to the right-of-way. Other fire restrictions had been discussed, but those will be determined at time of development for lot 2B to allow for access, secondary access from the west side to this lot 2B. But that's not something we're worried about just at the moment, just giving a little bit of background information. Oh dear. Okay, so again, project narrative was the property owners proposing to subdivide the existing property, currently vacant land, to allow for potential future residential development or sale for future residential development. Applicant Shi Khan was the applicant who submitted this information. Once the application was brought into the city, we had a chance to review as the development review team, supply comments back to the applicant, and then the applicant in the intermedium from when the application was submitted and then posted publicly has been able to supply that additional information, which will be officially incorporated for the city council meeting, but at the moment we'll still have the condition of approval from the publicly posted draft plat to what we were just looking at with the amendments, not if that wasn't confusing enough. I will stop sharing and allow for any discussion. That is the end of my presentation. And when you're ready, I can bring that motion board back up if you'd like.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the subdivision.
All right, motion by Marianne, second.
I'll second that.
All right, second by Becky. Do another vote. Marianne.
I move to forward a positive recommendation of Moab City Resolution 36-2020, a resolution conditionally approving the 241 East 100 North minor subdivision of property located at 241 East 100 North, Moab, Utah, subject to the following conditions. Submission of an updated draft plan showing an existing sewer easement on Lot 2B and proposed right-of-way access for Lot 2A before approval by City Council or recording of the final plat with the Grand County Recorder.
All right, and we had a second. Was that on that motion, Becky?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we can have discussion after the motion has been seconded. We
Okay.
just have to do it again because Marianne wrote it.
Oh, sorry, I second that.
Okay, yes, we can have a discussion on the motion. Jesso?
So maybe this is a silly question, but I just want to clarify one thing. So the entire property right now is zoned R3, correct? So if it's subdivided and on each of these lots, could there then be 3 dwellings, or how does that affect the density of this area?
Right. That is a good question. With the multi-household residential zone, essentially for what would be considered a multi-household residential, you need 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit. With both of these lots, one being around 5,000, one being around 7,000, it limits their availability to build beyond that density cap in each of those. But you are increasing the density in theory by creating more parcels. But they would be beholden to that standard that the rest of the zone is in.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, any more discussion? We have a motion on the table. All right, I will do a vote. Marianne?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
Jess?
Hi.
Becky?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. All right, motion passes unanimously. Moving on. Next agenda item, review and possible, let me make sure I'm on the right one. Review and possible recommendation and possible positive recommendation to the City Council Moab City Resolution 37-2020, approving the Every Minor subdivision located at 165 East, 200 North, Moab, Utah.
This one is very similar to the last one that we looked at. It's again a minor subdivision from one lot creating two. The location is 165 East, 200 North in Moab, and the property owner and applicant is Rebecca Every. The zone is R3, and the total parcel size is 17,500 square feet. The parcel sizes that are being proposed is lot 1, which is 6,750 square feet, and lot 2, which is 10,800 square feet. Both parcels meet the minimum frontage and minimum size requirements for the R3 zone. So this is where it is located, up on 200 North, right before the turn. And this is the parcel, and I've actually added a couple conditions. It says that if there's anything along the property line, that has to be removed before the plat is recorded, and that all the structures, existing and new, need to meet the setbacks of the newly created lots. In other words, this house will have to meet the setbacks. Whatever happens here will have to meet the required setbacks. We talked a lot about this. This application has been around for about a year, just kind of figure some stuff out. And there were a couple existing conditions. Right here along the front of the lot was a concrete wall that had been constructed a number of years ago in the city right of way. While there may have been some kind of a handshake agreement or something at some point in time, we could not find any record of anything granting this encroachment into the right of way. So Ms. Every actually took it down, so it's gone. So we no longer have that encroachment. That happened a couple weeks ago. So that is no longer an issue. The second thing that we talked about was whether or not a sidewalk should be required. And on this side of the street, none of the lots have sidewalk frontage. There is sidewalk on the other side of the street. And because there's absolutely no sidewalk in this whole block, the city engineer felt it was not necessary to ask them to provide one little space of sidewalk when it was likely not going to be, these are all developed parcels. So there is not a requirement to put in a sidewalk at this point in time or to bond for it. This is the subdivision plat itself. This little doohickey, you can see these are the driveway, the existing driveways. And again, this was part of a bigger subdivision. So this is a lot that gains its access through a flag here. And then this lot will now be divided into two. And this little doohickey basically means that this lot can use this access easement to get to their parcel. So it can be used by either lot. So that's what that is about. Oops. So the staff recommends, and I thought I put the motion up there, but I guess I didn't. So the recommended motion is to recommend to the City Council Moab City Resolution 37-2020, a resolution approving that every minor subdivision of property located at 165 East, 200 North, Moab, Utah. That's it.
All right. Yeah, if you have the recommended motion, otherwise that is on the agenda packet on the Exhibit 1. If someone wants to read, wait. Nope, it's not. Do we not have a?
It's in the staff report.
Oh, the staff report. Great. Sorry. All right. If you have the staff report in front of you, if someone wants to make a motion.
And I had just read it, so if somebody just wants to reference that, that would be fine too.
That works as well.
I second the motion that Nora.
Well, you'll
reference.
need to make a motion, or you need to say something akin
Or
to.
I say second. Okay.
You will say, I motion what Nora just said.
I motion
And I
what
can
Nora
say
just
it
said.
again.
And will say.
Okay, so you're making a motion, Luke, right?
That was Ruben.
Oh, Ruben. Okay.
I'm just trying to find it real quick.
Yeah,
I
it's
can read it
I
again.
got it.
first PDF
Okay,
in the
got it.
agenda, item 6. If someone else has it in front of them.
Okay, it's I move to recommend Moab City Resolution 37-2020, a resolution approving the every minor subdivision of property located at 165 East, 200 North, Moab, Utah. Oh, and I added conditions of approval. That's why I know I had another. That is weird.
There are no conditions of approval on the staff summary. So
Right.
are
So
there conditions?
I did add it, but I guess the slide went away somehow. So I added 2 conditions of approval. One is that If there are any structures on the lot line or straddling the lot line, those structures will have to be removed prior to platting the subdivision. And number 2, all structures existing and new must meet the setback requirements for the zone.
Can you zoom in on that picture of the vicinity map? I can't get mine to zoom on my computer.
Maybe.
Feels
That
a little
work?
skinny.
Yeah, it is, but it's a minimum 50 feet.
Yeah.
You might have to take this off.
But are there some of those buildings that won't be in compliance, that those conditions will need to be met, like that?
I'm not positive about this section, but this house would have to maintain a 7-foot setback from the property line. So, and that's the way it's drawn so that it can maintain that. I just wanted to add that condition for emphasis that.
Can you go back to the conditions page, Nora?
Well, I didn't,
Sorry.
I wrote them, but then it didn't show up. I must have deleted the slide somehow when I was adding to the slideshow. But there are 2 conditions that are proposed. One is that if there are any structures saddling, any structures along the new lot line, that those would have to be removed prior to recording of the plat. And number 2, that any new or existing structures have to maintain the required setbacks for the zone.
Okay, so I move to approve the motion enumerated by Nora, subject to the 2 conditions she just read. Is there a second?
Second that.
All right, second by Luke. We'll do any discussion on that. Okay.
Actually, I just had a quick clarification.
Great.
And the MMC, and so in the code, it says at the bottom of the staff report, and it's letter B. What does it mean? The subdivision is not traversed by lines of a proposed street.
That just means that those are the exemptions where you don't have to have a public hearing. So it says that this already fronts on a public street. So it's not creating a new public street. Basically what that means. So if you had to create a new public street by doing a subdivision, that would be required, would be a major subdivision and would require a public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Luke?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
Jess?
Hi.
Becky?
I have a question about voting on this. Becca was related to me by marriage. She's no longer, but I still consider her family. Should I or should I not vote on this?
I think it's fine. I think if you have a current financial interest in it is where we would get into issues as far as recusing ourselves.
Okay, I thought it was a family thing too. So
you're welcome. You're welcome to abstain. Regardless, that's always going to be your call. It's just what you're comfortable with. So.
Okay. Well, I vote yay.
Okay. Mary Ann?
Aye.
All right, and I vote aye as well. All right, motion passes unanimously. Let's see. Our final action item, review and possible approval of a resolution approving a 1-year extension of the conditional approval of the preliminary plat for the Abbey subdivision located on Powerhouse Lane, consisting of 66 single family, 16 twin home, and 4 estate lots.
So can you still see for some reason, my Zoom screen just got all weird. Am I still sharing my screen?
You are.
Okay, good.
Your PowerPoint is heavily zoomed in.
Okay, yeah. I'll zoom out. I just want to make sure it's still there. Okay. So this summer, If Summer's there, I think
Yes,
Amy
ma'am.
is in the waiting room.
She's in the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay. Amy, are you there? Maybe she's muted.
She looks like she's muted.
Okay.
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give a fairly brief presentation, and then I have additional material from when this was approved the first time a while ago. But in essence, the Abbey preliminary plat was approved about a year ago. And there were a number of conditions of approval. Let me get to them, that were attached to that approval, and mostly it has to do with the city engineer's requirements. There were also some input by the Planning Commission about open space, landscaping and irrigation. All those final plans need to be approved. And then there was some additional language that we tried to put on the plat about the floodplain, and then the developers would be required to execute a subdivision develop improvements agreement at the time of final plat approval. So they have been working pretty diligently in the last year on moving forward with getting these conditions of approval met. There's been some back and forth between the engineer and the project engineer. And due to COVID and reorganized priorities and financial conditions, the applicant is now requesting a 1-year extension, which is something that's allowed in the code. Absolutely. And it's not unusual for someone to ask and to be granted a 1-year extension, which is what's being requested, especially this year with COVID. I think we're pretty liberal in supporting those extensions because it's just a weird world right now. And Amy tells me that they're pretty close to actually being able to submit the final plat application. That application has to go to the city council for approval. So they're not done with their legislative or their administrative approvals yet. The city council has one more step. So what they're asking to do is just extend the preliminary plat so that they can apply for the final plat and get that approved within a year. Probably won't take that long, but that's generally, if we grant an extension, it's usually a year. Let me go back to a little bit of information just about the project. So so Corey just showed a slide that was like right in here that had where Pear Tree Lane is. So this is Mill Creek Drive, and this is Powerhouse Lane. This is an existing subdivision that exists, Dream Drive. And so it's property on both sides of Powerhouse. And Mill Creek Drive and Powerhouse Lane is the location. It's the property owners are Red Rock Partners. Amy Weiser and Set Engineering are the folks that have been representing them. The total parcel size is 21.53 acres. It's zoned R2 and partially RA1, which is 1 acre minimum. So they're proposing 66 single family household lots, 16 twin home lots, and 4 estate lots of over 1 acre. And those estate lots are on the land that's zoned RA1. So all of their lots meet the zoning requirements, meet the square footage, and meet the coverage that's required. They will be required to have a floodplain permit for their subdivision improvements, and some of the parcels will need to get a floodplain development permit when they develop. So here's another. This shows the creek. It's this parcel and this parcel, and on either side of Powerhouse Lane. This is a drawing. This actually has a lot of information on it. But this is on one side of the street. Let's see if there's a better picture. There we go. That's the same thing. So there were a number of things that were discussed during the Planning Commission meeting a year ago. There was a lot of talk about traffic on Powerhouse Road. We heard from a number of property owners on Powerhouse Road or Powerhouse Lane that were concerned about the pedestrian safety, emergency access, congestion issues, and a traffic impact report was done. They are being required to provide a second emergency access that goes out to Mill Creek Drive right here. So this is Mill Creek Drive. These are the twin home lots right along the Mill Creek Drive. And then this is Powerhouse. So they are required to have this additional access point, and that's being discussed with the city engineer. We didn't want necessarily just one way in and out. So that is, and it can be emergency access only. And so that the details of that are still being worked out. There were also some conditions about this intersection and traffic calming measures and maybe a raised sidewalk or raised crosswalk. And so those are the kinds of things that Chuck and the engineer are still refining. So there's no development proposed in the floodway. There is development allowed in the floodplain, but it's subject to finished floor elevations that are higher. And this happens in a lot of different places in Moab. Here's an example. This is the existing subdivision. These are the various flood zones. So you can see some of these lots would be in a flood zone, but it's in a zone where they're allowed to build. They just need to certify that their elevation is above the flood elevation. And our city engineer is comfortable with that. The other thing that was talked about pretty extensively was trails, which for some reason I don't have that map, but there is a trail. Right now, there's a trail easement that goes from Dream Drive up to the property line between this property and that subdivision. And then they are proposing a trail all along the back of the subdivision. And then eventually the hope is that it will hook into eventually the Mill Creek Parkway. There's a little bit of a gap, but at least it starts to close that gap. There's also a trail down the middle that connects with that. They have common open space in the middle. And there's a trail in there. Also, there will be landscaping and some retention basins. So it will act also as flood control. So, the options for extension is approve the 1-year extension, continue the request, and with clear direction to staff as to what additional information you need to make a decision, or deny the extension, resulting in basically termination of the preliminary plat conditional approval. And if you choose to do that, you need to make some pretty substantial findings as to why that would be denied. The Planning Commission did approve this. So that's the staff presentation.
Thanks, Nora. Thanks for the updates in the background. All right. And Amy, thanks for attending. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? I know we've gone through this once before when we approved the preliminary plat.
Amy may want to say a word or two. I don't know.
If you had anything to add, Amy, but otherwise, if there's nothing new, I think that's all right.
Yeah, I'm just here if you have any questions, and Nora covered the whole thing. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Great. All right. We can entertain a motion. Questions, anything like that, anyone?
This might not be specifically related to it, but like, what are the houses? Are they going to look similar? Like, is there an idea to have houses like look similar to what looks like on Bonita Drive? I don't know how to describe the design aspect, but I'm just curious.
I don't know at this point. They will have to have CCNRs, and they will probably have some architectural guidelines, but I don't know what those are. And nor is it really, I mean, they would have to, we have very basic design elements. They have to meet the setbacks, they have to meet the building height. Other than that, we don't really require a lot of design review on single families and twin homes.
I was just curious if there's a thought.
And they don't know if they're going to develop them all individually, or if they're going to sell them off or sell them to groups of them to different folks. I don't think they've made those decisions either, which they don't have to.
Great.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any other questions? Okay, can entertain a motion. The motion is there in your packet, just as always.
And it's also.
I'll make a motion to approve Nora's recommended
It's up on the
motion.
I have to share my screen again.
To approve the 1-year extension of the conditional approval granted by the Planning Commission on August 22nd, 2019 for the Abbey subdivision.
All
I'll
right.
second it.
Okay, second motion on the table. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. Jess?
Aye.
Becky?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Amy, for attending, and thanks, Nora, for the explanation.
Sure.
All right. And finally, 8 future agenda items.
I thought maybe we'd take a little time right now to address the email that Ruben sent around. And I think all of you have been contacted by a property owner along Mill Creek Drive. And they have a business in a residential zone, and they really want to upgrade their building, but they can't make it any bigger because it is a non-conforming use in a residential zone. And I think after we started looking at it a little bit and talking with this applicant, that section of Mill Creek probably may not in the future make a lot of sense for R2 or single family. And it may be something in the future that we want to look at some different zoning for, to provide some additional options. Maybe it's multifamily housing, maybe it's some certain kinds of commercial uses. The traffic on Mill Creek is just going to increase, especially with the Abbey subdivision and everything else that's going on, including Lions Back. Somebody is, there we go, thank you. So I think that, and we also paid for Landmark Design to do a little small area plan in that location. And I can send you out a copy of what they found. It didn't get very far, but they did, basically what they did is provide some graphics and some ideas, and we can take that up at a later time. But I think it's definitely something that we'll want to look at in the future. I think we need to get overnight accommodations done first, and I know you all want to do that too. Again, it's sort of, we're kind of in damage control or putting out fires at this point, because everybody, we're down a lot of staff, and so we will get to that as soon as we can. Hopefully maybe at the next meeting we can talk about that. So I just wanted to respond to that. It's an area that definitely is worth taking a look at. So put your thinking caps on as you drive up and down that. It will be heavily impacted by traffic.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were talking about the overnight accommodations, the changes that we're doing on the zones in town, weren't we going to also work on commercial nodes, community commercial nodes with that? Or is that those two different things and I'm mixing them together in my head?
Well, they're related, but they're two different things. But this was identified as an area to look at this node and maybe expand it. It's where Dave's and the burger place are, Milt's.
Yes.
C5, which is intended to be sort of residential supporting commercial uses.
Yeah.
Like offices and the Berkshire buildings in that zone. And so, you know, one of the things we could look at is extending the C5, or we could look at whether there's parcels that make sense for some multifamily. I don't know, but it's definitely something that's worth taking a look at now that we know we're going to have a lot more traffic on Mill Creek.
I think it makes sense. It seems like a good area for that.
We may get an application from one of the property owners for a rezone, and that'll kind of prompt it if they choose to go that way.
Yeah, I'm glad the property owner reached out about kind of the overarching thoughts. So we at least have some background now. And this seems like something we'll definitely want to have a lot of community engagement on, because it would be some big directions. But yeah, that it's a difficult intersection as far as mixed uses and continuing uses and growth, where likely growth isn't the best idea, but it's growing. So we'll have to.
There's also a Mill Creek Collaborative that the mayor goes to. I've not been to it. I don't really know who all it involves. I know it involves some of the property owners up there, and they're looking at all kinds of things related to Mill Creek itself, in-stream flows and some other things. And I don't know what will come out of that collaborative, but certainly when we dig into that, we will include them in our discussions.
Great. That sounds great. All right. If that is our last item, I will adjourn the August 27th meeting of Moab City Planning Commission at 6:52 p.m. Thank you everyone again for attending. We're going to be here digitally for a while, it seems like. So
certainly the next meeting, the city council talked about this at their meeting, and they want to go ahead and continue to meet virtually at this point in time.
Cool.
And it's, you know, it's up to you guys, but that would certainly be my recommendation, at least in the short term.
Great. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Have a great night.
Bye. Thank you
Bye.
all.
Bye.
Right.